Good day, and thanks for joining me back on the next episode of Go-Kart Racing. So here we are at the Superchamps final round. It's a heats format. It is a 10-minute practice followed by two 10-minute heats and then a 15-minute final, as you just see on that cool little graphic I've learned how to do thanks to ChatGPT. So just a little bit of tyre warming here as we are lining up onto the grid. We've got a random grid for the first race, and I am in P2, and I've got a good kart as well, so I'm happy about that. As soon as I pulled out a pit lane in this one, I was really happy because it felt good. I'm going to bring up the times now for the 10-minute practice, which you can see I was about a good chunk quicker than everybody else in the practice session prior to this heat in the same kart. So obviously I was very confident going into this race. So the race is about to start. So obviously this is heat 1, again random grid order, and we are going to get away to a fairly decent start. As we come into this first corner, it's always a little bit tricky with the kart coming on the inside because they always come over, like you just see there. But obviously second place, I was kind of expected to be second place off the start anyway. And then just kind of settling in and pick my way through. Now what you'll probably see, as we are following the kart in front, there's a couple of points where we were, a fair bit quicker. The closing speed was quite a lot. So you'll see here, like the kart in front, Charlie does run a little bit wide on the gutter in there, so we just kind of draw in that time back. And then the difference of the line coming up into this corner here. And there's a little bit of contact, I believe, on the exit, if I remember correctly. So yeah, just see the lines are crossing. I kind of backed out of it towards the end. Well, I thought I did actually, but I didn't clearly. This is where I backed out of it because I had a fear that he was going to show me the tyre wall there. So a little bit of a nudge there, just unsettling him a little bit. A little bit of race tactics there, just to let him know that I'm there and I'm going to put him under pressure at every opportunity I can. So we get a real good run through this corner here. Unfortunately, we're not quite light enough to pass him completely down the straight, but we do get a real good run, which carries us for quite a way down the straight. And this is incident number 1. So we, again, difference of lines, the lines cross over. What you'll see here is I've gone for the racing line where the grip is in the wet, and you see a nudge there off the edge of the track. And in my opinion, I was like, right, do you know what? He's pushing me off the track, I'm putting my foot in it. Got the position, and then obviously if you see here, he's going to retaliate and just basically pump me off the track. So there's me giving race control, like, mate, what is going on. Archie from Racing Club did have a word with us afterwards, to be fair, which, to be fair, I can see his point. There was no argument from me really. So yeah, that was it. End of incident really. We shook hands afterwards and had another incident in the next race, which you'll see in a minute, which is even worse. Anyway, so at this point in the race, I'm like, right, I know I'm quick, so it's just head down, and now I'm gonna make a statement over the next couple of laps and then just kind of maintain the gap, which is pretty much what we did. We pushed on these first few early laps, established a lead, and I believe Adam got through into second position, and I was kind of just like, every time I was coming out of turn 4, just having a little look opposite on the track, because he was kind of just coming out of 2. So I was just kind of making sure that gap was staying stable, and just so I wasn't going to do anything silly. Yes, there's a bit of pride being the fastest, but there's no point being the fastest into the tyre wall. So I was just like, right, got the lead. I'm just going to maintain this gap to the finish. This is the end, I believe, coming to the end of lap 2 now, and we've already got a pretty handsome lead coming up. Have a little look over the shoulder there. You see that was the second place kart there already, so I pulled probably the best part of the second or 2 just in that lap. So I was just like, right, okay, let's get it over the line, set a lap time, and then just hit the markers, which in the wet is an achievement in itself. We'll do a little bit of a walk-through lap on this time. So on the gutter in there into turn 2, Karen missed the apex there, probably a pretty poor lap to pick, but I'll go with it anyway. Again, going nice and wide here, where generally the grip is. I was trying a couple of different techniques, which you might see throughout the race here, with where I was turning, how I was rotating the kart, and I could probably find a 10th or 2 there. I'd made some notes prior to coming into this round where little things that I would watch back on my video and I wanted to try. In particular, one going into turn 2 and 3, which definitely didn't work. It was actually a lot faster the way I was doing it. But that turn 4, there was two different techniques which were equally as quick, but it gave me an opportunity to overtake if I needed to in a racing situation. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I did there because my rivals are going to be watching this video and then they're going to copy me. So yeah, I'll leave that one for another video if I ever pull it off. Got a nice run onto the back straight there, and then we just finished the lap here, and again here going into this fast left-hander, all over on the brakes on the gutter in there, off the edge of the track, the cart's rotated, pointing straight back to the edge of the track there, and hopefully we're not going to run wide. No, we don't. Perfect. Ride the gutter in again there, lovely exit there, and into the final corner, which was very slippy today. Usually the final corner is actually a real strong point of mine, and I feel like I can just absolutely rail it through there. But today it was just really, a little bit slick compared to usual. And I've noticed this the last couple of times I've been to Milton Keynes in the wet in the day. I've always found it's been a little more slippy, and compared to like the night time, like when we do the Thursday night leagues, I feel like there's a lot more grip at night. I have no idea why, and maybe it's in my head, I don't know, but I can always find a lot more grip and a lot more traction in the wet later in the day. So if anybody knows the reason behind that, please do tell me, because I have no idea. But yeah, I'm going to jump back in a little while when a little bit more action happens, because this is essentially just a lights the flag win. You'll see me take my hand off the steering wheel there because I was going into the barrier, and I've been there before when I've gone into clipped that barrier I should say, and the top tyre comes off and hits you in the arm, and I had such a bruise on my arm for weeks. So anytime I feel like I'm going to hit that barrier now, I literally just take one arm off the steering wheel because I just don't want to get clobbered by that tyre wheel again. So yeah, anyway, I'll jump back in a little bit later. Like I said, it's just a relatively steady finish to this race. Nothing really exciting happens because it's a light. Well, once you go into the lead, it's pretty much just establish the lead, chip away, and we will catch a few of the lightweights up in a bit and overtake those. But pretty much plain sailing to the flag. Right then, so we are about to catch onto the back of the lightweight grid. So as always, you heard me say this many times, it is always about risk and reward, and just trying not to get caught up in any other antics. So that was very nice and easy. And I was just showing him my armband there just so he doesn't try and retaliate. Same with this driver here. You'll see me now, I do get a better run on the exit, and you'll see me showing him my armband just to be like, look mate, don't try and overtake me because I'm not even in your race. And I really would appreciate it if you wouldn't send me into the tyre wall here into turn 8. So that's all that was. But yeah, I believe this is potentially the last lap of the race. So we are going to finish up with this lap and then get into the next heat. So this race, it was actually drizzling. The track was already completely wet, but it was drizzling throughout, as you can kind of see on the camera lens here. But luckily in the next one, it wasn't really raining or spitting anymore, so it was the views a little bit better, let's say. But yeah, this is it, end of the race. We've got heat 1 out the way, and we're starting it with a win, so a great start. And yeah, this will tie us in nicely. As you can see here on the results, we won the race by around 6 seconds, I think that was in the end. And here we are on the grid for Sodi Superchamps heat number 2. I've drawn an absolute stinker of a kart in this one, which is kart 27, but this is another random grid. So I started at the front in the last one, and I'm now starting at the back in this one, which I was really looking forward to because it was the biggest heavyweight grid of the year. I think there was about 12 of us, so I was about, I think, 11th on the grid, so it was always going to be good fun, and all about just trying to make a good start, which we'll find out in a minute if we do or not. So off the line, initial go off the line wasn't too bad, but as you can see, the kart on our right is actually got a much better start. There's actually quite a lot of grip here on this curb, a lot more than I was expecting. Like, there was no trouble with the kart grip in there at all. And then we go up the inside here. Adam did leave the door open a little bit there. I did kind of he left it half ajar, let's say, and we did kind of just force it open. So that's fine by me. And again here, everyone was going a little bit more slow than I would have liked, so I did switch to the inside there, and of course, obviously, as a result, I had a bit of contact with other drivers, which, in the wet on the first lap is kind of unavoidable, really. And then you see Adam doing the same thing to me there. And then obviously I've got a little bit better exit here, and I'm like, I ain't backing off, mate. You're going to have to take the inside line, which he did. But unfortunately, I got held up by this guy here on the left here, and then I lost the place to Fenton here on the right hand side. And I kind of back out the inside move there to try and V the corner off, which we get past one, but we don't get past Charlie as well in the end. But we made up one position, which is better than losing it, right? So into turn 8, you'll see me get a lovely run through here on Charlie in front, and then obviously the kart, like I said, the weight and this kart is just not good at all. I've got the full DRS tuck there as well, just trying to make it up. Now, this is a very big incident that's about to happen. So you'll see Charlie mounting the curb. I'm fully committed to the outside line, and he spins there, and I've nowhere to go, but I think I nearly snapped his neck then, to be fair. He's in the tyre wall. I said sorry to him, because obviously it's one of those things where I see it happening, and I kind of just sort of I just hesitated a little bit too much. Now, I went for the outside line because he was kind of slowing in the middle of the circuit, so I thought he was just going to slam his brakes on. But then obviously he let the brake off and continued rolling to the outside, which kind of left me with nowhere to go other than straight into the side of him. But luckily he was okay, I was okay as well. And from this point onwards, obviously we remounted on the track, and it is literally just a case now of just trying to make up as many positions as we can, because although these heats are essentially kind of pointless in a sense, because it's the final, which is the next race, which is going to determine the actual overall result. So you could technically finish last in all the heats and win the final, and then you win the event overall. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I could be wrong. But you do accumulate points in these first 2 heats, which will set the grid for the final. Okay, so that's obviously where my mindset was, and obviously I know Barry Morris and Adam had pretty decent, consistent results in the first race, and I knew they were at the front of this race. So it's like, right, I just need to make as many places up as I can, so I can start as high up on the grid as I possibly could, and just away from all the chaos So it's just kind of like, for me, it's just kind of like a recovery drive now. But to be fair, this guy, you know, he absolutely did not need to let me past here. Obviously, I don't know him or anything like that. I think he just knew, obviously, I won the first race and I was probably quite a lot quicker. So yeah, much appreciated to whoever that gentleman was there. Made my life a lot easier. And as you see here, you know, we're kind of catching up pretty quickly, to be fair. I think, you know, to be fair, this car is absolute horrendous, okay, in terms of speed. I have no idea why Daytona don't just pull this out the lineup and actually do some work on it, because every time someone has it, they pull it back into the pits and say, look, can you just, you know, swap it or whatever. But obviously in this the heat format, you get a different car in every race anyway, so I think Barry actually pulled this one in practice and they refused to swap it for that reason. So I think, yeah, in this race, I think I equalled my lap time that I did in Kart 7 in the first heat, which was a pretty damn decent car. So I was actually quite happy with this, considering you know, this car is, you know, quite considerably off the pace in comparison to that car. But so I think, you know, with regards to like pace, I had the pace to win anyway, but it was just a lot harder. But in terms of like the punch of the engine, there's just no real power. But to be fair, it did handle fairly well though, so you could maybe take a bit more liberty with it on the brakes and like mid corner, and it would kind of dampen the effect of the poor engine in this car. So yeah, that's kind of what I was just focused on doing, just trying to get as good a drive, good acceleration, good lines through all the corners, and just trying just to stay as consistent as I can. But yeah, you can see we've got kind of coming back through the field pretty quickly, and I think we may get this car pretty soon. I think maybe into turn 2 on this lap. It's a pretty strong point for me on this circuit, so we'll see how that goes. We're just trying to get a good run through it here. Again, like, the problem with this car is, like I said, you know, I'm always losing drive on this straight, but you can see that make up a lot more speed through that corner there, and it just sets me up for the inside, and it's just, yeah, thank you very much. But yeah, like I said, handling wise, it's actually pretty good. So it's actually quite enjoyable to drive in the wet. I've had this car in the dry before, and it's just been like the most frustrating thing in the world. But in the wet, it's a little bit less important. And I always think that probably in the wet, it's more down to probably a combination of obviously speed, of course, but the feel of the car, I'd say, is more important in the wet. Because there is some like really fast karts out there which you just, like, I don't know, obviously there could be loads of different reasons as to why they don't handle the same. Maybe tyre pressures, or a little bend in the chassis here, there and everywhere. And they don't quite hook up the same, so it makes it just impossible to drive fast because you just can't get the grip around the corners. So it's always a bit of a lottery, is rental karting. But yeah, as we can see, we're just taking chunks out the karts in front. Obviously these heats are very short as well, they're only like 10 minutes. So, you know, you're never gonna, from an incident like that, you're never gonna catch the leaders back up. It's just, you know, damage limitation and just trying to, you know, just pick up as many places as you possibly can, you know, without ending up back into any more chaos or accidents or anything like that. But again, catching this car up in front, I do run wide here, which, you know, happens in the wet, especially when you're trying to push for that lap time. But yeah, I think we actually passed this one again into 2, if I remember correctly. Again, you know, we lose a bit down here, but we get a real nice run through turn 1, which you can see here, gaining. Okay, maybe I didn't get it into 2. That would be an almighty lunge if I got it into 2 from there. I think you probably hear by the looks of it. Yeah, there you go. Just a nice little switch back there. Held him a little bit more on the inside, so we had to back out of it, because obviously if he did try and go up the inside, he's definitely going to spin or crash. And then yeah, on to the pursuit of the next one. So I'll jump in, so you don't have to listen to me waffling all the way through. But yeah, I'll jump back in a sec. Right then, so this is the final lap of the race, and you're going to see here there is actually, I think he was leading at the time. He had a little bit of an incident there, so luckily he gave us an extra place there. I think we got 4th in the end. So the result so far is obviously 1st in the first heat and 4th in the second heat, which put us tied 2nd on the points going into the final heat. So that puts us 3rd on the grid. Here are the results. As you can see, we are in 4th place, about 12 seconds off of the lead after that incident. So I just thought I'd add this in here about how I like to warm my tyres up coming to the grid. I really like to get a lot of grain and understeer off the front end. As I've said in a few times in these videos, for me, front end grip is key, and if I can just almost get those front tyres to just drag across the tarmac, it's just going to give me a little bit more opportunity to get those tyres up to temperature and working from the start. So this is the final, as I said, P3 on the grid, and we've drawn another shit kart in kart 33. So obviously at this point I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, but yeah, this one isn't as bad as 27, so I was still quite confident that we could do it. But yeah, this is actually the second start because there was actually an issue with the first start, so they had to redo it. So this is the second time we're going to do the start, and this one was a lot worse for me than the first one, let's put it that way, which you're about to see. So the lights are on now, and as always we give it a little bit of a dry humping off of the start line to try and get a little bit more speed to drag my heavy ass off of the line. And yeah, initially I thought, oh, this is quite nice, this is actually really quite a nice little tidy start, but I'm on the outside here and I'm considerably later on the brakes going into turn 2, and I actually broke well too early because I didn't want to go into the back of Adam again. And as you'll see here, all of those carts got the inside, and the cart, not this guy in the red, but this cart here, 23, just punted me straight into the wall. So obviously, yeah, not ideal, and it leaves me a lot of work to do, especially with Barry, Adam, and Will, I think his name is, in 3rd up above, and I'm stuck behind this guy, which is probably about 2-3 seconds a lap slower. So in my head I'm just like, I need to get past so quickly, because you can see the difference in speed through some of these corners is quite big. I back out of a move there because I'm pretty certain he would have spun, so I saved him there. So he should be thanking me for that after putting me into the tyre wall at turn 2. But yeah, anyway, we carry on in the pursuit. So obviously, like I said, at this point I'm just a bit panicky really, because I felt like I've been a little bit hard done by in the last 2 rounds of the Superchamps. I felt like I've been probably one of, if not the quickest there, but I hadn't actually won the event overall. So this one was the final round of the championship. I really wanted to have an opportunity to do it. You see Charlie here, this is actually a carbon copy of the first race actually, and we had some nice free wide action here. You'll see here we're all kind of like stuck to each other, which who's going to get the better run through here. And then this is actually quite cool. This was actually very exciting as this was happening. So I took the risk on the outside there, and again Charlie's on the inside nice and tight. I knew he was going to cut across, but I just kept my foot in it and managed to hold the position. And yeah, now I'm released into 4th place, and now it's just like, in my head I'm just like, right, maximum attack, full speed, and really just start taking some time out of these guys, because like I said, I felt I was owed one of these wins, and I really wanted it. So as you can see, we took a fair chunk out of them already. Got a nice little run through there, out of turn 5 into turn 6. Turn 6 again today, a little bit slippy. I felt like I've hit this tyre wall there every single lap without fail, which, to be fair, the tyres were a little bit more on the racing line than they normally are, so you kind of couldn't really not hit it on the wet line. Well, you could obviously, but when you're pushing, it's quite hard to avoid it. But coming into 8 again, up that curve nicely. And again, a nice little run through here, get a real good run through here, but obviously, of course, with the cart and the weight disadvantage, we definitely weren't expecting any passes down the straights. I can't actually remember where I get past Will here, actually. As you can see here, through turn 9, just got some great speed through there. this was a real strong point for me. It always has been, to be fair. The brakes and the corner speed through this corner. And as you can see, we're right on the back now. I think we go to the dry line here. We take a lunge. Yeah, perfect. Absolutely park it on there. And then I kind of, the way that I kind of drifted back across the track, he actually nudged me. So he just gave me a push forward. So it was absolutely perfect. So that was absolutely perfectly executed there. And then it's like, right, there's Barry, there's Adam. I was confident, you know, pace-wise, I had the pace, but again, you know, that's been the case for the last, you know, the last 2 rounds, but it's not quite come off. So at this point, I'm actually feeling quite nervous, a little bit anxious almost, because I'm like, right, I want to win, but I'm also trying to drive within my limits so I can get to the finish and not end up in a wall or crash or in someone else's accident, which has happened quite a few times recently. But yeah, we can see here, you know, we're just taking, you know, some real good chunks of time out of these guys now. We've quite been into this corner here as well, in comparison, but yeah, always lose a little bit out of the slower corners onto any sort of straight like this. You know, as you can see, I've lost probably a good 3 kart lengths there at least, to gain it all again in the brakes. Relatively good apex there, not quite 100% on it, but good enough. And then it's just like, luckily for me, there was a yellow flag here, which kind of allowed me to kind of close the gap a little bit. Obviously now it's withdrawn and we're now back to full racing. But again, the speed difference through that corner kind of brought me back to the back of them. And then Barry does his best here to ruin my race for me and spins in front of me. And yeah, now Adam is, you know, about 5 seconds up the road and I've got to do it all again. But yeah, luckily, as you see the race goes on, you know, we do take some good amount of time out of him. But there was a full course yellow for probably about 3 or 4 laps coming up in a minute, which obviously bunched the whole field together, which has actually made the last couple of laps really exciting, which I'm not going to spoil it, but it was pretty damn good. Again, you can see on my delta I'm a little bit quicker at this point through this corner. Again, just taking, you know, some nice chunks out of Adam here. I think lap time wise was maybe like 1.2 seconds. I think it was in the end. I was quicker than all the heavyweights. So obviously a fair bit of lap time in the back pocket. But again, it doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I mean? Anything, but well, you just see that in heat 2. You just see that just then with Barry. These accidents happen, and you know it can happen at any time, whether you're fast, whether you're slow or whatnot. And you know, again here, like all that was going through my mind was, right, I'm going to catch him. Okay, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to win it or bin it, and I'm just trying my hardest just to eke a little bit of time here and there. Obviously, in a kart that's not fantastic. Again, handled pretty decent though, but in terms of speed, not fantastic. So it always makes the job a little bit harder, but definitely not as bad as 27. And this is the start of the full course yellow, which you know, basically the whole field closes up, and then we've got the green flag now, and we are back to racing. So as this green flag come back out, there's about when we come across the line, there's about 2 minutes of racing left, and I knew that basically give us 2 laps of racing to go. So I just thought, right, it's now or never. Okay. Got a nice little run through there. Again, obviously closing up there, but obviously going to lose a little bit down the straight. But that's kind of just life now. I don't even know why I'm talking about it, because it is what it is. But it makes it a little bit more fun, of course, because you've got to flirt with the limit a little bit more. But you can see here, I think Adam was a little bit cautious through there, because in the Thursday Night League, he crashed there in practice or the race or whatever. And I feel like he's lost his confidence going in there more so than he was, you know, a couple of rounds ago, because I was closing a lot through there. But here we go. Is this the start of the last lap? No, this is the 2 minute board. So there's this lap and then the final lap of the race. So obviously I know I need to just be as close as I can. Really got a good run through turn 2 there, and then we're back on him now, and I'm just like, right, any opportunity I need to get through, but also I don't want to make a mistake and lose the opportunity. So again, that's the biggest thing in the wet, because you can make an overtake in the wet quite easy and then lose that position and then lose the opportunity to keep the position. Do you know what I mean? Like you see there, I had a little bit of oversteer on the exit, and now I've lost a huge gap to him again, and it's just like, right, just try and keep it smooth, try and not panic, and obviously the pressure's getting up as well, because obviously we're coming on, approaching the final lap, and it's like, right, I just need to be close to him, and that was basically the mindset for the rest of this lap. And I was coming in here to turn 8, again, take plenty of curb there, nice and late on the brakes, rotated fairly early there, again you see a real nice run through that corner, into the aerodynamic tuck, and this is where it starts to get a little bit more exciting. So obviously, of course, we lose a bit here. And now, like I said, from the lap before, I knew I was a lot quicker than Adam through these 2 corners. So I actually braked early here to try and not get slowed down, but I did it anyway. So I've had to come off the line to try and go up the inside, obviously, which was never going to work, but I had one resort and it was now. So as you see here, I've dived up the inside, slowing it down mid-corner, and you can see Adam come back up the inside, but I keep him on the inside so he can't go back to the wet line. And then now I've got the dry line, or the grippier line, and hold the position around the outside. So at this point, I'm thinking, right, if I don't make a mistake, there's only one place he can pass me, which is down the back straight. And then I'm probably confident enough that I could probably brake late enough going into 10 that he wouldn't be able to keep the position, unless obviously, he absolutely blasted past me. But as you'll see a couple of moments on this lap, I do make a couple of little mistakes, which probably just a bit of pressure, knowing it's the final lap, knowing that this could be my last opportunity to win the Super Champs round in the wet anyway. And then you see here, I think I do make a little mistake coming out here as well. I just get a little bit too much, see the kart rotating there, too much rotation too early, lose a bit of drive, and I look behind me and he's not completely there, but he's close enough. You don't quite see it on the camera. Probably about 3 kart lengths. Now, this is where I needed to be absolutely perfect, and if you watch here, I clip the inside barrier, lose some drive, and I go up on the thing, and you can see right there, he's in my slipstream. But luckily for me, there's a yellow flag that's just come out here for an incident that's just happened at the hairpin. So this absolutely no doubt saved me from being attempted to be passed or passed into that turn 10. I'm confident I probably could have forced it back, but it, in the wet, it's never a guarantee. And obviously at this point, obviously the green flag's back out, and I knew that there was no way he was going to get past me by the checkered flag. So obviously that gave us the win in the Super Champs, and we won the final and won the round. So as you can see there, 1.2 seconds lap quicker. We won it in the end by about 1.2 seconds as well. So yeah, a good round for me. I'm glad I finally got that monkey off my back, because it's been annoying me for a little while. It's been an itch that I needed to itch. A little fist bump here with Adam. Look forward to seeing his video coming up from the rear view camera as well. So